Going on, Cowboys Nation? It's been a couple days now since this fiasco against Green Bay, and just like the rest of you, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, and I'm 32. I don't even know what it's like to get to an NFC Championship game. I don't know what it's going to take, because this year it seemed like everything was set up magically for a run to at least the NFC Championship game. They blew it again. You know what? I'll be here next year. Come draft time, I'll be around, training camp, getting excited. Sure, we'll have a good regular season because we have 3 years in a row. That's not going to change. I'll be here, and I'll be ready to be let down again next year. I have a question for you guys, and you can reply in the comments. Let me know what you think. Why does everybody want to chuck a stick of dynamite? I say everybody. A lot of people online I'm seeing. They want to chuck a stick of dynamite into the middle of this roster, and they want to tank. They want to get some good draft picks, and they want to rebuild for the next 3 years. Why? Why? That seems reactionary. It seems counterintuitive. This team, it's close. I know it doesn't feel like it because they got their asses whooped against Green Bay, but they are close. 3 12-5 seasons. All right. The talent on this roster is immense. It didn't show up against Green Bay again, so I know it doesn't feel like that it is. But when you turn on the film and you watch them play against teams across the league, even when they're getting beat in some of these closer games, the talent still is shining through. This team is very talented. So what's it going to take? Why does a team that has 9 All-Pros that leads the league, why did they get whooped at home where they won 16 straight games? Why did they get whooped by a lesser team? I say lesser, maybe they're not lesser. The team just needs to be tweaked. It needs to be tweaked. There's some additions you have to make. Where are you weak? Did you get beat? Well, first and foremost, the run game. All season, Dallas, that was their Achilles heel, and it was disguised by the explosive offense putting up a bunch of points that forced other teams to get out of the run game. But anytime the run game was featured and relied upon by the opponent, it really whooped Dallas. It couldn't be stopped. And then when you saw Jonathan Hankins go out, that was only amplified even more. Dallas drafted Mazi Smith in last year's draft to help with the run. A big beefy guy to chew up blocks. Well, he's been a disappointment. He's one of PFF's lowest rated first round rookies. He's lost 40 pounds since training camp, and I don't know if that's by design. I mean, you're supposed to maintain a certain weight range as a player or else you get fined. So I don't know if the coaches wanted him to lose weight. I don't really know. He has a very slow get off, so maybe that was an attempt to help expedite or make his get up faster off the snap. But it's a problem. You need to chew up blocks, and especially this year, given our linebackers, the size of our linebackers, they were undersized. They can't be getting hit by offensive linemen because they're not going to shed those blocks. So you need big, beefy bodies to eat up those blocks while linebackers can roam and play free. Well, that wasn't the case this year. So in this year's draft, I'm looking for them to take at some point just a big, beefy guy to help chew up blocks to play alongside Hankins if Hankins comes back, and hopefully they beef up Mazi and Mazi can come back next year and play better. The other thing they need, speaking of linebackers, is a big nasty linebacker, somebody who can set the tone for this team. All right, when they're getting smacked in the face, look at the really good defenses across the league, and there's 2 of them, right? It's San Francisco and it's Baltimore. Look at their linebackers. They're dudes with nasty attitudes who can go make a big hit and really set the tone for the game. Now, Overshown's coming back next year. He had an ACL in the second preseason game. He looked good. He looked really good. He looked like he is a tone setter, but the ACL can be a problem sometimes. Now, he's young, doesn't have the mileage, so hopefully he comes back and it doesn't impact him the way it negatively impacts some other players. But while he is ramping back up and getting back into the flow of the game, I'd hope that Dallas maybe looks at picking up a nasty linebacker in free agency, or even drafting another guy somewhere in the middle rounds. And now what's really driving me crazy is I'm seeing calls to replace some of our really talented skill position players. And for what reason? Just for the hell of it? I get the Dak hate. I really do. And if Dallas had an option to move on from Dak, I'd entertain it. But his contract is so restrictive, and Dallas has a lot of players coming up that have to get paid. Dak really has Dallas by the balls here. He's owed $60 million this next season if they let that contract ride, which is an insane number. They backloaded that deal. Something awful. It's terrible. So I can't really let him play out that last year. I mean, that's you're gonna lose some key depth down the trough if you let him play out that last year. And if you cut him, you still have, it's a lesser cap hit, but it's still a very large cap hit, and he's not even on the team at that point. So you're throwing money away, okay? But I'm also seeing calls to not extend or sign CD to a long-term deal. I'm seeing calls to let Micah play out and release him when the time's done instead of signing him to a very large deal at the end of his current rookie contract. And I'm just like, if you get rid of your most talented players, what are you left with? You're just going to draft another guy that you hope can learn the position. I mean, you look at CD. CD it's not arguable, it's inarguable. As CD was one of the best, if not a top 3 receiver in the league this year, and it took him all this time to get there, right? It took him a few years to learn the position in the NFL, to really get going. Now he's the man. And there you go. So you want to just get rid of all of that progress. You want to release him instead of signing him to a large deal, and just hope that a rookie receiver you can draft can pick it up right where he left off. That's not going to happen. It's unrealistic. Micah is a generational talent, like it or not. I mean, you look at the chart, you look at his double team rate versus his sack rate and pressure rate. It's off the charts. It's not even close. Myles Garrett is in second place comparatively, and it's still not even close. I mean, this guy, even if he doesn't get the sacks, he's getting pressures. Pressures lead to turnovers. So this dude is a generational freak athlete talent, and people want to get rid of him because he didn't play well or didn't make an impact in the one game against Green Bay in the postseason. That's reactionary. You just got to take a step back and really analyze this roster and think about what you want to do that makes sense, and then we can have a conversation. Now, you talk about head coach, defensive coordinator. That's feasible. I understand that, and I've defended Mike. I thought Mike had a really good season. He had Dak playing the best ball of his career this year, but when it mattered most, his offense resorted back to the weeks 1 through 5 offense, where they ran a bunch of short crossing routes, bunched up in the middle of the field, no motion, and there's just bodies all over the place that couldn't get open against one of the lesser secondaries in the NFL, and it was just ugly. You couple that with bad calls on the ground, you 2nd and 10 run, 2nd and 10 run, 2nd and 10 run. It's drive-killing runs when it's 2nd and 10 and you pick up 2 yards and now it's 3rd and 8. You can't have that, and it's like this offense thrived through the air in the second half of the season, really the last 2/3 of the season, and that just went away, and they looked afraid to even throw the ball. All right, Dan Quinn, he's been really, really good at times. You know, give him credit for some of the stuff he's done discovering Micah Parsons' rushing ability, pass rushing ability. But his defense also gets you beat sometimes. And case in point is, once again, against Green Bay, you're playing 90% of the snaps. You've got 6 defensive backs in the field. Even when they're in heavy formation, it didn't make sense. And it's not the first time we've seen him do that. He outsmarts himself at times. I think it's a little bit full of himself. And, you see them play zone. They played man all year. They play a bunch of zone against Green Bay. Guys are running wide open. There's a play, one of the deep balls to the right hash. Guy was just wide open. They've got 5 guys in coverage. There's 2 routes being run. They got 5 guys in coverage. They got one-on-one with Gilmore. Gilmore bites on the slant. The guy's just wide open. Nobody even close to him. Okay, that's against 2 routes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing here. I don't get it. So if you want to entertain moving on from Mike McCarthy, you want to entertain moving on from Dan Quinn, I get that. And I'm not going to say I disagree with that. It's something to entertain, 100%. But you've also got to look at, as far as the players go, specifically Dak, you have to look at his contract, how restrictive it is. And you have to look at the rest of the roster and say, okay, are you willing to move on from Dak or let Dak ride out the last year on his deal if it means losing X, Y, and Z player? Okay. But once you have that conversation, once you look at that and the contracts down the trough further down the line that need to get done as well, or you want to sign players in free agency, that's another restriction with Dak's contract, letting it ride out or cutting him. Okay. You cut Dak, you're basically asking to be in maybe a 2-year, 3-year rebuild, and you're hoping you can find a quarterback that can carry this team. You're rolling the dice. And you're asking for a worse team than you have right now. Okay, that's my day 3 thoughts on this deal with Dallas. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know I'll be ready to be here again next season. I know I'll get pumped up for the Cowboys. It still hurts right now, all right, but get to do it all again next season, so that's the good news. and I'll be ready. How about you? All right, guys. Thanks. Catch you later.
Hey, this is a test of how great we can be.